sight, very stirring on this 4th of July. The flyover by the C-130. And the Angels and Kansas City Royals are just about ready to play ball. And this is ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell. And a very pleasant good evening to you and yours. And we hope you are having a wonderful Independence Day weekend. And we are very pleased to spend a part of it with you. Now, I'm John Miller. This is our ace right-hander, Orel Hershiser, and our Hall of Fame second baseman, Joe Morgan. Welcome to Sunday Night Baseball. And we've got a Kansas City Royals ball club that has a lot of great talent in the minor leagues, maybe the best farm system of any team in Major League Baseball. So they are an up-and-coming ball club, but under their new manager, Ned Yost, some of that future has started making an appearance in the here and now. They've won 7 of their last 9 ball games, and under Yost, they are 24-22. Not yet quite a contender, and yet they have given the contending Angels a lot of trouble here the last couple of days. They're going for a sweep of the series here tonight, and they have a .282 team average, best in the American League Oral. They have 4 regulars hitting over 300, including David DeJesus, who is the center fielder, and he's hitting .325.
Yeah, and for a casual fan, you may not know David DeJesus. He's a very versatile player. He's not a star, but he's an above-average major leaguer. In '08, he played center field. In '09, he played left. Now in 10, he's playing right field. He's also hitting in the third hole. He started the year in the leadoff hole, but his .325 average, it's 8th in the league. His 98 hits, that's 7th in the league. And when you're doing that in the middle of the order that leads the major leagues in average, you're a very good player. And he's very versatile. He's very, very good at everything he does at the big league level, except power and RBIs. And they will find that in the future.
All right, so we'll have a long look at David DeJesus as the Royals try for the 3-game sweep of the Angels. And so many things have gone wrong for the Angels. They lost some of their top talent from last year, guys like Sean Figgins, the leadoff man, dynamic leadoff man. He's in Seattle. They lost Vlad Guerrero. He's knocking in runs in Texas. They lost their ace right-hander, John Lackey. He's in Boston. However, they do have a few things, including an all-star center fielder. He made another all-star team here today. We're talking about Torrey Hunter, and they're in second place right in the pennant race.
Well, John, Torrey Hunter fits the image I have in an all-star. He's a leader. He's a great teammate. He's an excellent all-around player in the outfield. He also is a guy that had a great May and June. He hit .330, he hit .340 with runners in scoring position, and he drove in 46 runs. Those last numbers are important because with the loss of Kendry Morales for the entire season, they look to Torrey Hunter to produce more runs. And he's done that, and that's what's keeping him in second place. But he's also got a little help from Howie Kendrick, the second baseman. He has 50 RBIs, and he's played a very solid second base.
All right, so we'll get a good look at the Angels and the Royals. The Angels kind of need a win here. They're going with Joel Pinheiro. He'll be coming in here shortly from the bullpen. And Pinheiro will be facing Scott Posednik, the veteran leadoff man of the Royals, when we come back. The Angels and the Royals playing ball on the 4th of July. wearing the special cap that all the teams have been wearing for this 4th of July holiday weekend, signing some autographs. And some fans have come out decked in the colors, not just the Angels colors, but with the red, white, and blue. Watch this game and over 800 other live games on your mobile phone with ESPN Mobile TV. Text TV to 4ESPN. That's TV to 43776. The Kansas City Royals. And baseball has been fun again for the Royals. They started the year 12-23, and they made a managing change at that point. And Ned Yost took the reins from Trey Hillman, and they've had a winning record since then, 24-22. And they've won 7 of their last 9, including the first 2 games of this series. Here's the batting order for the Royals, presented by Taco Bell, with Scott Posednik. He's a speedster, a base stealer, leading off the DH. Jason Kendall, the veteran catcher, hits second. David DeJesus hitting .325. Center field. Billy Butler also hitting over 300. He's got a lot of power, too. First base. Jose Guillen leading the club in home runs and RBIs. Right field. Wilson Benavides is at third base. Mike Aviles, another 300 hitter, is at second base. Mitch Meyer is playing left field, and Unieski Betancourt is the shortstop, batting ninth.
And Jose Guillen is a guy that had a 21-game hitting streak stopped last week, John. But as you mentioned, he leads the Royals in home runs and RBIs. 14 home runs, 52 RBIs. And he is a proven RBI man.
Pinheiro on the mound today for the Angels. He got off to a very slow start at the beginning of the year, but his last 5 starts he's won. His ground ball ratio has not changed. He's a good sinker ball pitcher, but what has changed over the last 5-6 starts is the fact that the ball is actually sinking, not just staying down, so the balls are hit a lot weaker.
Behind Pinheiro, as Posednik gets ready to head to the plate, the Angels look like this. Matsui, a rare start in the outfield. Torrey Hunter, 9 Gold Gloves, is in center field. Bobby Abreu, who's also won a Gold Glove in right. Brandon Wood at third base. Eric Ibar is the shortstop. Howie Kendrick at second. Mike Napoli is filling in for the injured Kendry Morales at first, with Jeff Mathis doing the catching. And here's the first pitch of the ball game, and that misses up and away from Pinheiro to Posednik. Posednik is one of the Royals' 300 hitters. Posednik hitting .302, 3 homers, 33 batted in. And that is too high. And generally, that's probably not a good sign if Pinheiro is up with pitches.
No, he wants to miss down, and he wants to pitch along the knees.
Posednik looked like he was thinking about dropping a bunt down there, but again, too high. 3-0.
But when I talked to Mike Sochi, he said the real problem is right about now, the shadows are the toughest. And they're not going to change a lot for at least a couple of hours. You can see Pinheiro's in the shadows, and so is the hitter, but that background is in the bright sunlight.
And that's ball 4. Every pitch was up above the belt there to Posednik.
Remember, he worked with Dave Duncan in St. Louis. It turned his career around. When he was in Seattle, he was a 4-seam high fastball, curveball pitcher, and then he worked with Duncan and really turned his career around, and he's become a 2-seamer and very much of a specialist of it, so that was not a good sign for him right there.
He had his best year last year all round. He was 15-12 for the Cardinals last year, as Jason Kendall is at the plate now. And he takes a called strike. Kendall is becoming somewhat of an Iron Man behind the plate. Kendall, who turned 36 last weekend, he was born on the same day as the Yankees' Derek Jeter.
Well, John, they usually do not try to steal off of Pinheiro, although they tried 3 times last time. Those are only 3 attempts this year, and they were successful 2 out of the 3. But normally they do not try to steal a base off him. We'll see if Posednik wants to try it.
Posednik, 24 steals to lead the Royals. And the throw to first by Mathis, not in time. Napoli there to take the throw. Posednik back to the bag.
You could see the quick release from Pinheiro, and that discourages a lot of base runners from trying to steal.
1 ball, 1 strike to Kendall. Kendall leads all Major League catchers this year in games started and innings caught. And that's even though he just turned 36, an age when a lot of catchers are cutting back considerably. But not Kendall. He gets older and he catches more, although I guess he's always caught a lot.
I was going to ask you, is that a positive or a negative, though?
He looks fine.
Well, I mean, that's the question.
He doesn't seem to be limping around. I don't see any big bags under his eyes. He's 5th on the all-time list for career games at catcher. And as we said, leading all Major League catchers in games started behind the plate this year. Chokes up in the bat. Kendall is not a guy that you expect to hit for much power. He does not have a single home run this year in 277 official at bats, but he's hitting 264, and he's always been pretty handy with the bat, pretty good hit and run man. What about a hit and run? 2-1 the count. Pasetnik is back.
Well, Kendall is a guy that puts the ball in play, and he is a good hit and run man. What happens if you send the runners, you have to guess right whether Kendrick is going to cover or not. The second baseman may not cover, and he probably shouldn't cover.
And that's a called strike on the inside. And on that pitch, not only was Pasetnik not running, he actually flinched back toward first base as Pinheiro made the pitch. 2-2 the count.
Definitely can use some action here if you want to be Kansas City. He does handle the bat very, very well, and he goes to the opposite field. He can use that hole best with anybody.
This is a double play ball. Kendrick won the first. A double play.
I just have to wonder. I mean, you have a guy that can steal bases. You have a guy that can handle the bat up there, and you just wait for a double play. I mean, I just don't. In the first inning, I think you can be more aggressive in the first inning with a guy like Pinheiro because he doesn't strike out hitters. He's gone 110 straight starts, and he's struck out 7 or fewer in those starts. So it gives you an opportunity to run, to hit and run, and do whatever you want. I just hate seeing double plays when you know that Kendall hits a ground ball. It's a double play.
David DeJesus, 325 average, 8th in the league at the start of the day. DeJesus with 5 homers, 35 batted in. Left-handed hitter all the way. And his name has come up in trade rumors. It's that time of year. And a ball down to them. But everybody that talks about him is saying that he could be had. Dayton Moore, the general manager of the Royals, said any of them could be had. But for DeJesus, it would cost you quite a bit. He says he's not shopping him at all. If a team calls, he'll listen. 3-0 the count.
Well, he can play all 3 outfield positions. He hits right-handers very well, even though his 325 average, 8th in the league, but hits right-handers at the 342 clip. So if you needed to platoon him, if you went to a real contender with a big lineup and you wanted to platoon him, you could do that. But then you've got him as a defensive replacement. You've got him as a spot starter. But he is a genuine big leaguer. He's not a star, and he's kind of buried in Kansas City. We don't get to see him very often, but he is a solid, everyday player that can really contribute to a winning ball club.
3-2 the count now. The sinker in there from Pinheiro. And in the month of June, we all saw the amazing numbers put up by Josh Hamilton and the big month for the Mets' David Wright. But very quietly, DeJesus hit .410 in the month of June for the Royals. And he's got himself another base hit. First hit of the night. And that will bring up the cleanup man, Billy Butler.
Anything they could have done to stay out of the double play may have netted them a run.
I don't know what you mean about that, Joe, because you put that batting order together to have speed and have bat control behind the speed, and then you don't use it. So I understand your frustration there, especially with Kansas City, as they're playing the Angels, who is a team that really should out-talent them. So maybe you try and beat them in some other ways.
But the Angels are a contender. They have a lot of talent, proven talent, that sort of thing. But they have a lot of guys hurt right now.
Right.
Kendry Morales being one of those.
Well, I think he's the biggest one because he's their thunder in the middle of the lineup.
But also that curveball in the dirt and blocked by Mathis keeps it in front of him, and holding it first is DeJesus. DeJesus with only 3 steals. The big base stealer, the Sednick,
was just erased on a double play.
Who led off with a walk. Well, we kept expecting him to run. We expected something to go on.
I have to go a little further with that because Kendall's not going to drive the ball out of the ballpark, right? So you need to use his bat or his abilities the best way you can, and that's putting the guy in motion, hitting the ball in the gap, or doing something with it while, get some runners moving.
And I know your answer to what I'm about to say, but Pinheiro holds runners real well. He's quick to the plate, and you're like, well, if you're a base stealer, you can steal off anybody.
Right.
And I know your answer, and I believe you're right.
Ooh, the slider.
Well, but I think a lot of people revert back to the watch now and how quick somebody is to the plate, and they don't want to run into that out. So what they do, they ground into the double play.
But it was a perfect hit and run count.
Exactly.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying just steal, but hit and run.
Right.
Do something, put the runner in motion. Use the fact that Kendall does have great
bat control. Yeah.
Another slider. Butler just got a piece of it. Butler hitting .320, 8 home runs, 42 runs batted in, and also a guy who has a .386 on base average for the year. Pretty good ops. I always like to check for the ops.
Well, I must say this though. I talked to Ned Yost before the game. I found him to be much more at ease with the managing job.
That is strike 3 call. Jose Guillen left on deck. They got 2 men on. And Strand 1. 0-0. Now the Angels are coming up. Presented by Taco Bell. Eric Ibar leads off at shortstop. Howie Kendrick is at second base. Bobby Abreu, the veteran, in right field. Torrey Hunter named to the All-Star team today. Center field, Hideki Matsui. He was the MVP of the World Series last year. Left field, Mike Napoli. At first base, Paul McAnulty just up for the minor leagues, the DH. Jeff Mathis, the catcher, and Brandon Wood, the third baseman, is hitting ninth. And on the mound for the Kansas City Royals is Anthony LaRue, and he got his first win as a starter in the major leagues earlier this week. LaRue, he had the long sideburns and a fastball low and inside for ball one. He had Tommy John surgery, made his major league debut 5 years ago with Atlanta, but he's had a lot of miseries since then. Given a shot here, Kansas City was a couple of injured starters, which makes the opportunity for LaRue, and also Bruce Chen, who had a no-hitter going into the 7th inning for them last night, a former Atlanta farm system product as well. And both Gil Mesh and Luke Hochevar on the disabled list for the Royals right now. So LaRue trying to build on his first Major League win as a starter and try to do it again. If he does it, he will have helped the Royals accomplish something they have not accomplished this year, which is to sweep a 3-game series from a team. They won the first 2. Eric Ibar hitting .281. He's been hot lately as he rolls that one softly foul over to third base coach Ron Renicky.
John, Ibar leads the league with 12 bunt hits. He also has 27 infield hits. And we always think of Ichiro, getting a lot of infield hits. Well, Ichiro is second to him with 24, but that's 36 hits, 39 actually, hits that were on the infield for him. 12 bunts, unless they're going to count the infield hits as a bunt.
So Eric just pointed to his eyes right there like it's really hard to see up here. Dino Ebel down there coaching third.
And Ron Renicky is now the bench coach. Used to be the third base coach. And it's another good-looking guy who's in great shape now coaching third. There is Ron Renicky, the former third base coach.
It's Dino Ebel. All guys that Mike Scioscia had relationships when he was a player.
In right field is Guillen. And that's all for Ibar. Well, he hit the ball out of the infield. Look what happens.
Right.
The umpiring alignment for this holiday game is Jim Joyce behind the plate. 21 years in the major leagues. Marvin Hudson, Jim Wolf, Darrell Cousins on the bases from first over to third. As Howie Kendrick comes up. Kendrick will turn 27 in 8 days. Strike one to him. Kendrick, who has been hitting real well here of late after starting very poorly. And although he does not often walk, his on-base average is fairly low. He has 50 runs batted in. So he had been one of the Angels' top clutch hitters, hitting well over 300 with runners in scoring position.
There was never any doubt about his talent on the ball in the strike zone. It's just picking the right pitch to hit is the key for Kendrick. And they think that this guy is going to win a batting title someday, and they've been waiting for the potential to come through. With a guy like Bobby Abreu on your team, Mike Scioscia has always thought that the talent has been there. Mickey Hatcher, their batting coach, just slowly putting it together.
Off the glove of Butler. LaRue covering. And just in time. LaRue did a nice job. Butler, his hasty underhanded throw was rather low, but LaRue bent down to get it. Just in time.
Well, Anthony LaRue, the key to this play, because of the bad throw, is how quick he gets over to first base. That gives him time to get his footwork in bounce. You see he's there in time to hit the feet on the bag. So now, once the foot touches the bag, all you have to do is worry about is the ball. When you arrive the same time as the ball, then you're trying to catch and find the bag, and that's when you usually see the misses.
Well, I'm so glad that Howie Kendrick took great pains to avoid stepping right on the Achilles tendon of Anthony LaRue, whose foot ended up right in the middle of the bag.
A lot of time the base runner gets injured there as well, trying to avoid stepping on the pitcher's foot.
Well, Kendrick did had a nifty bit of footwork there to avoid either one of them getting injured.
And watch Kendrick. He steps on the front of the bag. He got a little piece of it, but he stepped on the front of the bag to avoid his foot.
And Bobby Abreu hit by the pitch, and the plate umpire is issuing a warning right now.
Well, I thought the first two pitches were awfully close, but Abreu just turned away. He wasn't taking any. He wasn't really striding like he was going to hit.
Well, there's an immediate warning there, and that means there's a history. And Billy Butler was hit yesterday twice for Kansas City, and if you're going to balance the books, a lot of times 2 outs in the first inning, number 3 hitter, is when it happens.
Irvin Santana in the 8th inning. Got Butler. The one we just saw was in the first inning. Then he hit him again in the 8th inning. And now these are the pitches to Bobby Abreu. And finally, number 3 got him. So there seemed to be little question as to what was going on there. I mean, there's pitching inside, and then there's pitching 3 feet inside. So a warning has been issued to the pitcher and to the managers. Now, if the umpire, Jim Joyce, feels that somebody has been thrown at intentionally, he can, without any further warning at all, eject that pitcher, and his manager would be ejected at the same time. And back to the bag is Bobby Abreu. Abreu, who has 14 steals this year. Abreu now 36 years old, but he can steal a bag. And I seem like this would be a spot where he'd like to get a steal.
You know, right now, one of the most awkward places to sit is in Joel Pinero's seat, because you really feel like some payback might be necessary, but you don't want to get kicked out of the game because of the warning. So you're sitting over there knowing what needs to be done to protect your teammates, but you know also what protects your teammates is going 6 or 7 innings. So you have a very divided feeling, and I've seen players do the stupid thing, which is retaliate and get kicked out, and then you see a bullpen blown up, and you see a team go into a tailspin for a week or 10 days trying to reorganize their pitching staff. And I've seen people do the right thing, which is go out and do your 6 or 7 innings and keep it under your hat for later.
Torrey Hunter into right field. Guillen, looking into the bright glare of the sun, makes the catch in deep right, and the inning is over. A hit batsman, some warnings issued, and now Pinheiro back to the hill with Jose Guillen coming up. Home plate all the way out beyond the pitcher's mound now, so both the pitcher and the batter are in the shadows of the late afternoon as Joel Pinheiro throws a slider low and outside for ball 1. We start the second inning. A little bad feeling. Now, you were talking, Oral, about the idea that maybe Pinheiro feels like he's got to do something now that Abreu has been hit. However, that was in retaliation, apparently. Our guess is that the fact that Butler got hit a couple of times last night, that's why Abreu got hit tonight. So shouldn't that be the end of it?
Should be the end.
Justice has been served?
Yes.
There's Irvin Santana, the starter last night, who hit Butler a couple of times. 2-1 the count. 2-2. Guillen had a 21-game hitting streak that ended not so long ago. 34 years old, from the Dominican Republic. And Jose has 14 homers to lead the Royals, 52 batted in. That is a fair ball, and Brandon Wood throws him out. There is one away. Between innings, Jim Joyce issued the warning, of course, after Abreu was hit by the pitch, and then he spoke to...
Warning there! Warning there! Warning in place. You know what? But I won't take anything away from you. You just throw your game. Just don't go after anybody intentionally. I know. If I feel it's intentional, I have to eject you. But you throw your game. I don't take anything away from it.
Well, that's interesting. I enjoyed that part of it. Go ahead, pitch your game. Just don't throw at him intentionally.
Jim Joyce pitched in college at Bowling Green, Ohio, and understands a pitcher's dilemma of using both halves of the plate and then having a warning issued.
Bay to meet, and this will be handled by Napoli, unassisted. 2 men gone. And let's go to the studio. Steve Berthume with the Sports Center right now. Here's Mike Aviles. Aviles hitting .319, 2 homers, 13 batted in. He had Tommy John surgery in the offseason. He'd been a shortstop. They have him back now playing second base, and it's a looping liner into left field for a base hit. That one followed a banana-shaped arc as it dropped into left field.
He's been a really good hitter during his career. He had a bad year last year, but he hit 300 the year before. I mean, he's a good hitter.
And he did have injury problems last year. And he says he's still not throwing at 100% effectiveness, and playing at second base has helped him. He says it's also been a difficult transition, being the second baseman who has his back on the runner who's trying to wreak mayhem on his body as he waits a throw from shortstop or third on a double play ball. So that was a new one after having been a shortstop all of his life.
It's the number one thing you probably hear about guys that have played third or second, or short, and then moved to second.
Mitch Meyer down the right field line. That is a fair ball. Into the corner. Abreu over to cut it off. Aviles to third, and he is going to be held up there on the double for Mitch Meyer.
Kind of goes to what Ned Yost was talking to him about. He said these guys can hit, and he really likes the fact that they get a lot of base hits. The problem is they're not hitting as well with runners in scoring position. They do not have a lot of power, but they are good hitters. That's a changeup. Gets a little bit toward the end of the bat, but he pulls it down the right field line. And Bobby Abreu plays it perfectly and gets it back to the infield and holds the runner at third.
Well, the Royals have had a lot of base runners against Pinheiro, but have not yet scored. As you see, Kevin Seitzer, himself a pretty good hitter with the Royals years ago. Now he's the hitting coach, and right alongside the manager, Ned Yost. So here is Yuniesky Betancourt to try and be the RBI man. He's got 5 homers, 33 batted in, a .259 average. 2 down, runners at second and third. Betancourt, the former Seattle Mariners shortstop. Torrey Hunter. And that is the inning. 2 more stranded for the Royals. Hideki Matsui, the World Series MVP last year, coming up. Matsui leads off, and he takes a called strike from Anthony LaRue. Matsui getting a rare start in left field, which he really likes, and he was hoping to play the outfield even with the Yankees last year. Finally, the Yankees just thought, well, he's too valuable and it's too risky with his surgically repaired knees to put him out there. Matsui in the center field, and there is David DeJesus with the glasses, battling the harsh glare of the sun. Other games going on, and one just wrapped up in Denver. Here's Steve Berthune. And the Rockies took 3 out of 4 from the Giants at the start of their homestand, which they look as a very important homestand as they try to work their way back toward the top. The Padres won, the Dodgers won, the Rockies won, and the Giants lost for the 8th time in their last 9 games. They also have gone 4-12, as they've had one series after the other that they have lost here in the last 2.5 weeks. And the Giants have fallen 7.5 behind San Diego, and looking up at the Padres, Dodgers, and Rockies, as we saw there. Anthony LaRue to Mike Napoli, and right back to LaRue. Quick reactions there to get his man 2 down. Round the bases with ESPN Monday and Wednesday nights. First on ESPN Monday Night Baseball at 7 Eastern. The Braves up against Roy Halladay and the Phillies. The Braves atop the National League's Eastern Division. Then Scott Rowland and the first place Cincinnati Reds from the Central Division take on the Mets. ESPN Wednesday Night Baseball at 7 Eastern. Both games also available on ESPN3.com.
I think I'll ride to New York and check on that Cincinnati Mets game.
You're going to that one?
Yeah, I think I'll go check that one out.
Well, Cincinnati with a 1.5 game lead over the St. Louis Cardinals in the Central Division. Just up for the minor leagues, here is McAnulty, and the Angels made a couple of moves today. Paul McAnulty was brought up from the minors, and also Corey Aldridge, another left-handed hitter, has sent down a pitcher, Sean O'Sullivan, and a right-handed hitter, Rob Quinlan. And I asked Mike Scioscia, the manager, says, well, you feel like you need a little more left-handed hitting right now? And he said, we just felt like we need a little more hitting, period.
Well, guess what his nickname is? And I hope John Kruk is still in the studio. His nickname is Kruk.
Really?
Yeah, that's what they call him.
McAnulty?
Yeah. Kruk.
Swing, body type,
well,
infielder.
That's what they call him. I'll let John Kruk decide whether that's a compliment or not. Well, I'm sure he wouldn't say so right there.
Kruk, he could hit a changeup. We go to the 3rd now. Top of the order coming up with the Royals against Pinheiro. It is 0-0.
Scott's, official lawn care company of Major League Baseball. And Firestone, the official tire of Major League Baseball.
Some photos that we took just yesterday over at Huntington Beach. Looks like one of those turn back the clock days. Huntington Beach, a great surfing location, and it hosted the very first U.S. Surfing Championships back in 1959. Meanwhile, inland, over here in Anaheim, where the Angels and Royals are in a 0-0 tie. We start the third inning. Joel Pinheiro against the top of the order. Scott Pasetnik, who drew a walk his first time, and he has a 1-ball count this time. Jason Kendall, David DeJesus to follow. The Angels begin the day 4.5 back of the Texas Rangers in the American League West. The Rangers are playing a home game tonight against the White Sox of the Central Division. And a curveball, and that is the high strike. 1-2.
First time in 3 years that the Angels have not been in first place in this division on July 4th.
Well, last year they were tied with the Texas Rangers and then kind of pulled away.
The Rangers have a history of not playing as well in the second half of the season. Some think, and you spent a season or two down there.
3.5.
Or 4 or 6, 7. Orel spent 8 or 9 seasons down there.
Not as a player, as a pitching coach, but that heat I think you were getting to is tough. It is absolutely brutal.
Well, that was always the conventional wisdom, that the 100-degree temperatures day after day after day would ultimately take a toll on the players and drain them a little bit.
That's why I had so much respect for the job that
was hit hard right to Kendrick, and Pasetnik is out.
That Ivan Rodriguez, the numbers he put up while playing in Texas in that heat as a catcher, that was unbelievable.
The Rangers and Angels have played each other 5 times. The Rangers having won 3 of the 5. They just played this week in Anaheim, and the Angels took 2 out of 3 from Texas. So they got a lot of games left to go. 14 head-to-head matchups still.
Well, the fact that the Rangers have Vladimir Guerrero now, just the balance and power shifted there. As soon as you take somebody that the Rangers, we couldn't get him out. He hit all-time highs against the Rangers compared to any other team. That's within his own division. And now he's back to his all-star style. 331, 70 RBIs, 18 home runs. Leads the American League in RBIs going into the day.
And that's the point. You take his numbers off of the Angels and put them over to Texas, makes a big difference.
Well, except even when the Angels had him, he wasn't putting those numbers up, not last year.
Right.
He had 50 RBIs for the whole season last year.
Well,
he was hurt.
Yeah. He had the back problem. He had a chest muscle, I think. He had forearm problems. And the Angels really thought that the health was going to continue to deteriorate. He wouldn't get healthy. But Vlad needs his health, especially the back, to reach those pitches out of the strike zone.
Well, he seems to be very healthy right now.
Well, also the fact that Josh Hamilton is having such a great season over there as well. So I think Texas is for real. I mean, I don't think they're going to fade as they have a few times in the past.
From left field, Ibar. Not in time. Jason Kendall, who runs pretty well still, even at age 36 with those catcher's legs.
Well, Ibar had to set himself, and once you take that extra moment to set yourself, you're actually giving the runner, 3 steps. Watch, he gets to the ball in time. He has time if he could have thrown it right away. 1, 2, 3, and then he sets himself, and that just takes too long to get to first base from that deep in the outfield, on the outfield grass.
Well, last week we saw the Dodger-Yankee game, and we saw Derek Jeter take the 1 step to jump, and the throw's not as strong, but it's quicker release.
Well, and people don't understand it. Like I said, it's not. Jeter wasn't showing, wasn't putting a little mustard on the hot dog. He jumped so that his body is facing first. That allows his arm a free release.
Well, nobody does that play better than Jeter.
No. Well, he's the only one that I know that does it consistently, along those lines. A lot of other guys try to use their strength of arm. They try to set themselves and use their arm strength. He does it with quickness.
That one hit the side of the mound. Ibar to second one. Kendrick to first. Not in time. DeJesus is safe at first. He had singled his first time. Now hits into a force play this time. 2 down.
Well, Ibar makes sure he gets the good hop. Watch it. Hits the mound, pops up in the air. And instead of him coming to it and get it, he backed up and got it on the big hop, which assures you that you're going to get the 1 out, which you're supposed to do, I guess. You're supposed to make sure 1, but there's no chance for a double play when he backs up and catches it that deep.
Now Butler. Now, why would he back up? Why not?
Well, he wanted to make sure. That's the point. You make sure. If that same play happened in the 9th inning with, winning run at third, he would charge that ball. But you want to make sure that you get 1 this early in the ball game.
Butler called out on strikes his first time. Had a little argument with Jim Joyce, the plate umpire, in the first inning. DeJesus, the runner at first, and that's a base hit to right. DeJesus to second is stuck there. Abreu fields the ball in shallow right. Abreu still has a pretty strong arm. So Butler is 1 for 2. 2 men on here in the third inning. They have 5 hits already in these first 3 innings against Joel Pinheiro.
Now, we talk about the fact that they get lots of hits, but they just do not get enough hits with runners in scoring position. They do not walk a lot. They just do not do all the things you need to do to produce a lot of runs. But they are a good team, and they put a lot of pressure on the defense.
I mean, they're hitting well, 281 as a team with runners in scoring position, but if they don't hit with runners in scoring position, they don't score because they don't hit
in the
home
power.
runs.
No power.
Except for this guy, Jose Guillen. You see the Royals offense first in the league in batting average, but in the middle of the league in runs per game.
Yeah, they're 12th in the league in home runs.
And that sinker runs off the inside. 2-0 to Guillen, who grounded out to third his first time.
If you think about it, run production costs money. If you're a small market club, you're going to have to grow that from within and really keep those players under control that have that kind of power and RBI potential before they get to their free agent years where they're going to cost you an arm and a leg.
But it takes time to develop as a real consistent RBI man, meaning young players. It takes a while before you can develop that unless you're Albert Pujols. But normally it takes an adjustment period in the major leagues to know that they're going to pitch you differently in each situation. And you have to be able to make the adjustments there. You have to learn to be able to do that.
Guillen has done well in RBI spots with 2 down. 2 out right now. And that is off the inside. He gets a walk. And here is Wilson Betemit, who is playing his 18th game after being brought back from the minor leagues. Were they pitching around Guillen there? You think Pinheiro would rather face Betemit than Guillen?
I think he was pitching around him. I mean, when I say pitching around him, he's trying to hit the edge, and he missed, so he was hoping that Guillen would go out of the zone and try to drive in those runs.
Base is loaded. And the breaking ball in for a strike. Betemit grounded out to first his first time. The Royals got 2 men out in the first inning, did not score. After 2 were down in the second, they put runners at second and third, but came up empty. And now 3 men on, but with 2 down here in the third. And the count 1 ball, 1 strike. So 7 base runners in these first 3 innings, and they have yet to score. 5 hits plus 2 walks allowed by Pinheiro. And like a lot of sinker ballers, there'll be a lot of hits generally in one of his starts. A little dribbler. And Pinheiro, that's the inning. They have now stranded 6 in 3 innings. It is the 4th of July, Major League Baseball, and there have been some memorable occurrences on this date in Major League history, for sure.
consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
The kick and the pitch. He struck him out. McGinney has pitched a no-hitter. Dave McGinney has pitched a no-hitter.
Also on this date, Nolan Ryan, then later Phil Niekro, their 3,000th career strikeouts, and then Mantle, Mays, and more recently Pujols and Adam Dunn with their 300th career home runs on this date. It is the 4th of July, 2010, and we'll have to expect something fabulous to happen here tonight in our Sunday night telecast. Right now, for the Angels, something fabulous would be a win after losing the first 2 games of this series to the Royals. Jeff Mathis hitting 8th in the order with a count of 2-0, facing Anthony LaRue.
And you know what LaRue's nickname is, right?
What?
Your old-time Western guy, Lash LaRue.
My old
Lash. I mean, he's from the old-time Westerns. Lash LaRue, the guy with the bullwhip. That's his nickname.
Lash?
Lash.
This guy?
Yeah.
Well, who would give him that nickname?
Well,
Which one of his teammates ever heard of Lash LaRue, the old-time Western
His
actor?
name should be Burns. Those sideburns he's got.
Mathis with a single to left field. Well, those are pretty big sideburns. You remember, he kind of reminds me of a guy who was maybe had the greatest year for a relief pitcher in history. 1974, Mike Marshall with the Dodgers. He pitched in 106 games through more than 200 innings. He was not just the closer, he was the setup man, he was the middleman. He was the whole bullpen.
And he had some sideburns.
He did have big sideburn, which weren't so unusual in those days. LaRue is a little more unique nowadays. Mike Marshall did things that would get managers fired if they tried to have a reliever do those things now. There are a lot of starting pitchers who never miss a start, don't pitch as many innings as Mike Marshall pitched out of the bullpen in 1974, helping the Dodgers get to the World Series. 1 ball and no strikes. LaRue facing Brandon Wood. Wood was basically given the third base job with the movement of Sean Figgins. Figgins left the Angels, signed as a free agent with the Seattle Mariners. And Wood, who was sort of for a while, the shortstop in waiting, then the third baseman in waiting, a guy who hit a lot of home runs in the minor leagues. So the job was his, but he has not done well. Brandon Wood is hitting 176 with only 3 home runs and 159 at bats. He had 20 or more home runs in 5 straight minor league seasons. He's in there tonight. And the changeup from LaRue.
I talked to Mickey Hatcher about him, and he says that there's a lot of potential there, but he's just got some holes that they're trying to work on, and that's the biggest problem. They're trying to work on them here in the big leagues. Mm-hmm. And it's tough to work on those holes here in the big leagues because big league pitchers can exploit them better than they can in the minor leagues.
And the curve, strike 3 call. Dropped down a little bit with that breaking ball. And there is 1 away. Second strikeout for LaRue. Tuesday night, Angels outfielder Torrey Hunter will take you on a journey back through 8 decades of unforgettable performances at the All-Star game. And he'll also go back and talk about one of the most popular events of All-Star Week, the Home Run Derby, with rarely seen behind-the-scenes access to every part of the All-Star experience before, during, and after the game. This is a look at the Midsummer Classic that fans shouldn't miss. Always All-Star, presented by Taco Bell, Tuesday night at 7 Eastern on ESPN. Here's Eric Ibar, the leadoff man, with 1 out. Mathis, the runner at first. Mathis is not a fast runner, but he does have 2 steals this year. Ibar flied out to right his first time, and the Royals seem to think that Mathis might be on the move.
Well, that's more about the manager than it is the base runner. The action manager, Mike Scioscia, on the other side. And Ned Yost thinking, you know what, People might put something on down there at third base coming from Scioscia, so I'm going to be on my toes, even though that's a catcher over there at first base.
And there's a strike. to Eric Ibar. There's Mike Scioscia. The Angels, without Sean Figgins, the running aspect of their game is not as much out in the forefront as it used to be.
They're very aggressive base runners, that's for sure. But as far as the speed element, you're so right. The stolen base is not as prevalent with their offense. But Mike Scioscia will always continue to push the envelope, that is for sure. Have guys on top of every situation. You would rather see them make an out of aggressiveness than somebody that just play it safe.
You see even there that note, they've had 57 steals, but they have had 29 thrown out trying to steal, and that's the third worst stolen base success ratio in the American League.
I guess, John, because I always believed in running, whether it's stealing a base, hitting, running, just making things happen. I'm always surprised that we'll put up the numbers where, their success rate, like they've been caught a lot of times. How many times, other times, did the guy stay at first base and the guy hits into a double play? See, we seem to accept the double play as part of the game, but a caught stealing is something you shouldn't have. That always bothers me, because if you stay at first base hitting a double play, it's just a double play, and they don't say much. But when you get a caught stealing, it's like, well, he shouldn't have been running, and that bothers me because it's not a fact.
That one is right through the middle. Base hit for Ibar. Mathis will stop at second as DeJesus charged that one hard in shallow center.
It's kind of what you're saying. You're saying you'd rather for your guy to be aggressive and, get thrown out than to wait and just sit there and hope something might happen. You know what I mean? Because there's definitely, if you were to look at the caught stealing and compare them to the guys that hit in the double plays, I bet you'll find out there are far more double plays than there are caught stealing.
And aggression is so much better for team chemistry.
Right.
Just you're going after, you're using your abilities, you're challenging the other team. When you lay back and wait for the home run or wait to go first or third, and then you go, oh my gosh, what's happening?
And the waiting for the home run is not the thing anymore. Remember that.
No.
We've kind of lost the 3-run homer on a consistent basis now. We're more, where every little aspect of the game is important again.
Well, this is Howie Kendrick, and this is where Kendrick has excelled so far this year, hitting only .268 after grounding out his first time tonight, but the runners in scoring position, he's hitting well over .300. Kendrick into this game at .322 in situations like this year. There's a runner at second, that's Mathis, and we call that scoring position. A base hit to the outfield could well get him home. 2-1 the count. The Angels here as a team, in their last 4 games, look at those numbers. As a team, only 2 hits in these clutch at-bats in 25 opportunities. They've only had 1 such hit in this series against the Royals in 10 at-bats. And LaRue misses way outside, ball 3. Bobby Abreu, a left-handed hitter, is on deck.
Well, and there'll be a price to pay in that at bat after hitting him and both sides getting a warning. Bobby will be locked in. That's not to say he's not locked in every at bat, but there'll be a little extra motivation.
Mathis at second, Ibar at first. It's too low, and he will have to face him now with the bases loaded. And Abreu, who has been a big RBI man, and consistently so for a long, long time.
John, he's had 7 straight years of 100 RBIs. He only has 42 now, so he's going to have to hustle a little bit. But, he has been a guy that drives in runs on a consistent basis throughout his career. We're around the halfway mark, so he's going to have to step it up a little bit to get to 100 this year.
Well, this is
capable.
The perfect opportunity for him to begin that process. With the bases loaded, Abreu hit by the pitch his first time. That's a strike. Looking for the ground ball. Took something off that one. Dropped it in over the outside of the knees.
I saw a statistic on Bobby Abreu, which is just unbelievable to me. He has been called out on strike, third strike, more than anybody else in baseball. 26 times he's been called out. and he takes a lot of pitches. We know that. He takes a lot of strikes. But I'm surprised that he'd take that many third call strikes.
Well, he is such an information gatherer. He wants to see as many pitches as possible. But he doesn't chase. He's got a great eye, but you're right. 26 is a lot.
That's a lot for a guy like that.
And he was protective there, fouling one off the left field line. Still 0-2. Abreu not only has driven in 100 runs or more in 7 straight years, but he's stolen 20 bases or more in each of those 7 years. That's the longest streak of that kind for RBIs and steals in Major League history. He got the bases loaded here. No score. Mathis, Ibar, and Kendrick the runners. And blocked in the dirt by Kendall. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Well, everything in this at-bat has been away, and Bobby Abreu has either looked at it or fouled it off just with an emergency swing. And in my mind, if I'm pitching to him, I'm thinking, is he sitting soft on the inner half of the plate looking for something to drive?
The last year in which Abreu did not drive in 100 runs was all the way back in 2002. That one is hit deep. De Jesus on the warning track at the wall, and he caught it. It almost looked like it was going to fly out of his glove there for a second. Coming in to score is Mathis for the first run of the game, and everybody else moves up. Ibarred it to third, and Kendrick to second on a long sacrifice fly by Abreu, nearly a grand slam.
Well, as you said, he waited patiently. He got a ball right there in the middle of the plate, and he turns on it. I mean, this pitch is right there, and he turns on it. He just barely misses it. It carries a long way. And just a nice play there. He gets back to the wall, knows where the wall is, reaches out with his hand, knows where the wall is, makes the catch. And the base runners did a good job of all tagging up.
So it is 1-0 Angels. Runners at second and third. And Torrey Hunter, who was named to the All-Star team today, will try and drive in some more. Hunter with 53 RBIs for the season. Flied out deep to right his first time in this game. That one is hit well. Down the left field line. Into the corner. Fair ball. Home run. Three-run big fly by Torrey Hunter. 4-0 Angels.
John, and he knew it was a big fly from the moment he hit it. I could have told you that. I could have called that one for you. He was starting to trot as soon as he started out of the batter's box. And this is a high pitch. He gets it up. And, I mean, he drills it. And he knows it's a home run. Looks like a hanging breaking ball. And you see he flips his bat. He starts his trot right away. He knows it's a home run. Oh, that's a big fly, too. That's out there.
Right down the left field line, and it went well beyond the foul pole. So Torrey Hunter makes it a 4-run inning, his 13th home run. That's a base hit for Matsui.
Well, the last 3 pitches that were hit, he's getting the ball up. That pitch was up, and Matsui even had to tomahawk it. So he's lost his arm slot, apparently, Earl.
Yeah, his location is off. And you got to remember, the second time around in the order, the Angels were no hit through the first time around the order. And all of a sudden, now there's 4 hits in this inning, a walk, and they really have shown that they can jump on you in a hurry. Now, Torrey Hunter right there. The hanging slider, Joe, you were right. That ball's just right up there in his wheelhouse. No, I don't mind it when they flip the bat, even as a pitcher. You hit it that far and I make that mistake, you go ahead and give the fans a show. Kendry Morales goes out and is hurt. Bobby Abreu and Torrey Hunter have to pick up the RBIs for this club. And this club, since Kendry has been gone, is actually a better club. Now, that doesn't mean when you lose your best offensive player that you don't want him back. They all want him back. But they have really focused on the offensive side. And those 2 veterans have helped lead the young guys.
Even with the 2 losses this weekend to the Royals, their record since Morales went down with the broken bone in his leg, is 21-10. Napoli hit one back to the pitcher his first time. He's the 8th batter of the inning. He muscles one to left, and that will stay in the yard as Meyer takes it. It's a 4-run inning. Abreu knocks in one, and then Torrey Hunter knocks in 3 more. He was selected to the All-Star team today, and he has an All-Star moment. 4-0 Angels. Taco Bell. We are not at the beach, although I wouldn't mind it. Perfect day to be out of doors here in Southern California. And a very blessed 4th of July to you and yours. The All-Star game will be right here in Anaheim a week from Tuesday. Home Run Derby a week from tomorrow. Right here on ESPN. We go to the 4th inning. Here is Mike Aviles, who singled his first time, and he takes a called strike. 1 ball and 1 strike now to Aviles. Mitch Meyer and then Unieski Betancourt to follow against Joel Pinheiro, who is on a roll right now. Now he's got a 4-run lead with which to work in this game. Even though the first 3 innings were filled with problems. He allowed 7 men to reach base in the first 3 innings, but he was able to keep them off the board. Now Ibar behind second. 1 hop. Too late. And Aviles has his second hit. Let's go to the studio now. There's an update of that ball game going on in Texas. Here's Steve Berthiaume. Hamilton, I saw where he was hitting. He hit .454 in the month of June. When he had 50 hits. He just was on another planet in the month of June. The Rangers by 4.5 over the Angels, and the Oakland Athletics are staying right on the periphery of the race. They won today in Cleveland. It's a strike from Pinheiro to Meyer. Meyer, who hit a double down the right field line his first time. Runner at first, nobody out. The Royals have 6 hits against Pinheiro in 3+ innings. This is double play ball. Kendrick to second, 1. Ibar to first. Double play. And that, I guess, is the quintessential Pinheiro moment.
He's had a 4 unassisted double play. He's had a 4.63. He's had ground balls in the infield that have turned into infield hits that the shortstop is kind of backed up on. But right here, you get one hit, a 2-hopper right to second base, and that's 2 every time at the big league level.
So 2 down and nobody on. Here is Betancourt. Right to Ibar. And the inning is over just like that. 10 of the 12 outs he's gotten have been on ground balls. Last of the 4th inning. And the Angels are coming back up. Last of the order against LaRue. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan and Oral Hershiser. And the hometown team, the Angels, are leading 4-0. The All-Star teams, or most of them, were unveiled today. The American League starters, Joe Mauer of the Twins and Justin Morneau of the Twins. Robinson Cano and Derek Jeter of the Yankees will be starters. Evan Longoria of the Rays at third. And in the outfield, the Rangers, Josh Hamilton, Ichiro of the Mariners, and Carl Crawford of the Rays, and Vladimir Guerrero, the designated hitter. The reserves include 2 who are injured, 2 injured Red Sox. Victor Martinez, Dustin Pedroia, replaced by John Buck of the Blue Jays and Ian Kinsler of the Rangers. Miguel Cabrera, Elvis Andrus, A-Rod, Adrian Beltre, Ty Wigginton, Torrey Hunter of the Angels, Vernon Wells and Jose Bautista of the Blue Jays, and David Ortiz of the Red Sox. And the pitchers, there are 8 starters, 5 relievers, and some pretty good talent on those 2 lists for the American League. Jared Weaver is not on that list of the Angels, which is sort of, I don't know if you'd say it was stunning, but I think they were rather shocked here that Jared Weaver was not named to the team. He has a 2.82 earned run average, 108 2/3 innings pitched, only 89 hits allowed, and well over a strikeout per inning. Those numbers are amazing in that he is not considered, apparently, an all-star.
And he has had an outstanding career so far, this being his 4th year. He's 29 games over 500. He pitches like an all-star and has, and really deserved the shot. The rule that got him is probably the 1 representative per team. Fausto Carmona with Cleveland. Sin-Chu Chu hitting 300, went on the DL, so they had to take something from Cleveland. Ended up being Carmona, who was a 500 record and an ERA about 0.6 higher than Jared Weaver.
McAnulty strikes out for the 2nd straight time, and here is Jeff Mathis, who started that 4-run 3rd inning rally with a single. Mathis hitting 8th in the order. I don't understand it. You had a guy selected, and then he can't play. But you had your guy selected, but he can't play. So why do you have to pick another guy from that same team? You already had one.
Well, see, I want to disagree with you guys on that representation by every team. I still believe that every team should be represented in the All-Star game. And I'll tell you why. When it started, there were 25 guys on a team. There were 25. They added more because of the expansion and the fact that they were requiring every team to have a player. So they've had 9 guys added to the 25. When I played, it was 25. So you pick 25 guys and you go. Now they have 34. So I don't think it's because that every team has to be represented if somebody's left off. I think it's because of oversight. I'm agreeing with you 100% that I think Jarrett Weaver should be on this team. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But I just don't think it's because of Fausto Carmona. There were other players who could have been left off, and Jarrett Weaver could have been put on.
Wood flies out. It's a 3-up, 3-down inning on 7 pitches for Anthony LaRue, and we're going to the 5th inning. 4-0 the score, top of the order coming up. And there have been a lot of outstanding seasons put together in the first half. We'll talk about that. That was a spot that's not close to our booth. First half of this 2010 season, and there have been some exemplary performances in both leagues. Robinson Cano, who is leading the majors in batting average, or is second in the majors in batting average, and he's got a lot of RBIs, power, the defense. He's the whole package now.
Well, he's a complete player, so I think he is definitely my leading candidate for MVP right now. But as you said, there are a lot of guys. Look at Adrian Beltre's having a great year. Miguel Cabrera always has a fabulous year. Vladimir, along with Josh Hamilton, they're doing the job in Texas. And Justin Morneau is always a guy that's right there in the mix. And right now we're saying David Wright leads the league in RBIs, and he has really come from way back to help lead the Mets to back to contention.
Scott Pasetnik leads off for the Royals here in the 5th against Joel Pinheiro, with the Angels ahead 4-0. Pasetnik has walked and grounded out. One ball, one strike to count now to Pasetnik. Now, Oral, were you saying that you didn't like the rule that put Fausto Carmona on the All-Star game because Cleveland needed somebody, or were you just pointing it out?
I was just pointing it out. I don't mind the rule at all.
So you're not disagreeing with Joe?
No.
Oh, okay. This is not like a big...
a heated argument?
A brawl about this.
Well, we were brawling between innings, but I mean, we're okay now that you
I didn't want to mess
mediator, you know what I mean?
His suit looks so good, I didn't want to mess him up in a fight.
My new Peter Millar.
I'm
going to hook you up, too.
Apologize for that, Mr. Peter.
But, I mean, I just think that someone else could have... Well, let's do this another way, all right? If Chu would have been on the team, right? So that meant...
But he's hurt.
All right, but say he's on the team.
You can't replace him with a pitcher.
Right. So you can't replace him with a pitcher.
Right.
So you would have left him out anyway, right?
Right.
You would have left.
You would have had a representative.
What I'm saying.
They had a representative, and his name can be mentioned. He could even, if he can walk.
But I mean, that's not going to help Jarrett Weaver.
I know. We have a pitcher that with a 500 record that has a higher ERA. When Jarrett Weaver is 8-3, that is on the team, and I feel like he's been snubbed.
Well, I'm agreeing with you that he's been snubbed. I'm just thinking that it could have been another person.
This is kind of personal to me.
Could have been on.
I was only on 3. I felt like I could have been on 5.
Hey, I have to tell you, look, it's personal to me, too. Remember last week I was saying when we were talking about Strasburg, I felt like I was taken off the team once because of a young phenom.
Right.
We don't want to get into all that, but
I do.
But, I mean, I won the Silver Slugger Award that year and whatever, but they had a rookie that made the All-Star team. Steve Sachs made the All-Star team.
Oh, he was a Dodger. That's where it comes always back to the Dodgers with you.
No, but I didn't want to mention it. John made me mention it. But I'm just saying, so I feel that if you deserve to be on the team, you need to be on the team.
Who was the guy?
Steve Sachs.
Well, he was a phenom. He was doing really well.
He did. He was.
And then Johnny Ray also was having a good year that year, I think.
But I won the Silver Slugger Award. I'm just telling you that.
But you can't win that in the first half of the season.
Why not?
That takes a whole year. You probably had a good second half.
No. I was from day one. From day one, I had a good year.
You mean the Dodgers needed to have somebody?
No.
The Dodgers almost never have any All-Star.
Look, I don't have any problem with that because it was Tommy Lasorda, and he took his own player. He took his player.
So now you're blaming it on the manager.
No, I'm saying he took one of his own players, and I understand that. There were times when I think Sparky took one of our guys, because it was his player who had helped him win. So I didn't have a problem with that. Right now, people are, you take a look at Philadelphia, Manuel, some people are saying that he shouldn't have taken Ryan Howard over, say, Joey Votto or some of these other guys, but that's his guy, and I understand that. Part of when you earn the right to be the manager of that team, you should have something. You should be able to do something.
I would think with the game being in Anaheim here this year that they would, would be some little bit of the edge would go to Angel players.
I'm in 100% agreement that Jared Weaver should be on the team.
But I want to get more specific.
Okay.
Because Weaver did not make the club. Fausto Carmona, Cleveland had to have somebody. They had Shin-Soo Choo. He's hurt. So they picked a pitcher instead. Could have been Weaver over Fausto Carmona. All right. Let's say somebody else who was selected. Matt Thornton. Good left-handed reliever for the White Sox. Not the closer. Could have been Jared Weaver instead of Matt Thornton, except, hello.
They didn't.
He's the only White Sox player selected to the All-Star team.
Well, Paul Konerko could really argue, too. Paul Konerko could really argue that he should be on this team as well.
Right.
He's leading the league in home runs, and he's an RBI machine. Look, that
could have been him instead of Joaquin Soria of the Royals.
But
he's a good closer, but he's the only Royal All-Star.
But go back to what I said before. There used to be 25 guys. How difficult was it then to pick 25 players? Now they've added player after player. They added up to 34 to try to eliminate some of these problems.
68 All-Stars, a re-entry rule.
Right.
By the way, Joe, I know you feel strongly about Konerko. That ball, or that bat from David DeJesus flying into the stands. Look out. The bat boy brings out a new piece of wood for DeJesus. And he's going to go doctor it up a little bit at the on-deck circle.
That'll probably get exchanged for another bat in the bat rack because that's his gamer. And then there'll be a little chorus of boos, and then they'll figure it out that they really are giving him a bat.
You're right. I do feel strongly about Konerko, but I feel stronger about Joey Votto.
Well, let's go back to Konerko for just a moment. You can vote for Konerko.
Yes, and I will.
He is one of the 5 American League candidates in the Internet runoff. Konerko, the Yankees' Nick Swisher, Delman Young of the Twins, Michael Young of the Rangers, and Kevin Youkilis of the Red Sox. Well, Kevin Youkilis? He didn't make the All-Star team?
I'm going to vote for all those guys. I'm serious because
I thought you could only vote for one of them.
But if you vote for them all, then your vote doesn't count.
Well, perfect.
So you're taking your right to vote and nullifying it.
I can't pick one guy out of that group.
Ibar, one with Kendrick covering. He never made the exchange. He just flipped it right from the glove. Nicely done on 2 fronts by Eric Ibar to force out Jason Kendall.
John, can you tell us what's been happening in the game? My scorecard's messed up. This is a great play. And you know what? He charges this ball, and he gets there. I've been on him a little bit, but that angle right there that he took, Joe, works because he finally took an angle deep enough to give him time to get to the outstretch, to have time to get that out. A couple of the plays prior to this, I thought maybe he could have charged him a little more to assure a double play or to assure an out at first. But right there, that angle, he needed to do that.
Well, he definitely played the other 2 balls deeper than we thought he should have. And we point out that he was making sure one on the double play, but the other one, it was a bad read, I think.
with Pinheiro on the mound, there's going to be generally a lot of ground balls that get hit. And he depends on that strong defense. As the cleanup man, Billy Butler, who has struck out and singled to right, stands in 4-0. The Angels ahead here in the 5th inning. By the way, the other guy you mentioned in the National League that you thought was a guy who deserved to be on the All-Star team, Joey Votto. You could vote for him too, Joe. Joey Votto is on that ballot in the National League.
Exactly.
You going to vote for him?
Of course.
So you're voting for Konerko and Votto?
Yes.
All right.
And Euclid.
This is so when we do a game and you go down on the field to visit with the players, you can all say, I voted for you. Then you get information and you get to deliver that to the fans because you have good relationships with everybody.
This came from Sparky, admitted.
Yeah.
Sparky goes into Toronto and he says, man, this guy George Bell with the Blue Jays, he's the MVP as far as I'm concerned. And then he goes into another city and he says, oh, I think your guy is the MVP. And they said, wait a minute. 3 days ago in Toronto, you were saying that their guy. He says, well, 3 days ago I felt strongly that it was their guy. So you just feel strong. But I like this. You just go in and take them all.
No, but I mean, if you look at Votto, he had 41 consecutive games he had reached base by hit, error, base on balls, whatever. He didn't. That streak ended today because he was ejected in the 1st inning over a 3rd call strike. And I'm sure there was a little stress going on about not being put on the team. I mean, I would feel that way.
Well, he could still be put on the team if you voted for him.
Well, I'm going to vote
and not
for him.
vote for everybody else.
Okay.
And that leads us to another topic. This is really important to the players.
Right.
They love to make the All-Star team. I don't care how many years you've made it or it's going to be your first. It is an honor to be on that team. And that's why we sit up here and debate it. Not only for the fans to say, who we really think should be on the team, but these players in their heart love it.
Runner going on a 3-2 count, the foul ball. And De Jesus will turn around and go back to first.
You're right, because I made 10 All-Star teams. I'm still mad because I didn't make the 11th.
Right.
And I think that's the way players are. They're competitive and they want to be numbered amongst the best.
And the couple that I thought I was off of that I could have thought, I blame myself. Like, well, then I shouldn't have had those borderline statistics. I should have won that game, or I shouldn't have given up that run. And I used it to motivate myself in the second half.
Well, I think most players do that.
Second walk of the inning. 2 men on with 2 men out, and Jose Guillen is coming up. Torrey Hunter talked about being in the All-Star game this weekend.
It's just something about standing on the sideline when they call your name out and they say, hey, this is Torrey Hunter, center fielder for the Los Angeles Angels, and in my home turf, and these fans are just going crazy, that energy, and I tip my cap. I think that's a very special moment. I saw Albert Pujols in St. Louis go through that. It gave me chills watching it on TV, and so I really want to go through that, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, that dream will be realized. He has been named for the All-Star team.
And I think it is a special honor when you're on the team in your home city. He's right.
He'll be the only one getting that special ovation. He's the only Angel who will be on the team. That is caught by Napoli off the bat of Guillen. 2 men stranded. They've left 8 men on base and have yet to score against Joel Pinheiro. day that the All-Stars were announced today. There's a bunt by Ibar, and LaRue throws him out. A little fastball over there to first base, and Ibar is now 1 for 3. We've seen the American League All-Star selections. Here are the National League All-Stars. The starting lineup: Yadier Molina and Albert Pujols of the Cardinals. Chase Utley was voted in by the fans, but he will not be on the team. He's injured. Hanley Ramirez at short. David Wright of the Mets. Ryan Braun, Andre Ethier, Jason Hayward. Jason Hayward is currently on the disabled list, but I guess there's a possibility he might actually be able to play. The rookie sensation of the Atlanta Braves.
So that's interesting. He said, Jason Hayward said he didn't want to play. I really think he should wait and just see how his hand is if he decides to play, because, you know, we're just talking about how great it is to represent your league in an all-star game. So if he can play, then play.
And with his future, everybody say, well, he's going to make a lot, but you never know.
A base hit for Kendrick into right field. Kendrick, who walked and scored a run in the third, is on base again as Bobby Abreu gets ready to bat with Torrey Hunter right behind him. Meanwhile, other stuff going on in baseball. Here's Steve Berthume with an update.
I don't think that's the last update we're going to get on that game.
There are a couple of hot teams there.
Yeah.
The White Sox, who really got it going and put themselves right into the thick of the American League Central Division race. And the Rangers, who had an 11-game winning streak recently and who lead the West by 4.5 over these Angels. Abreu, who'd been hit by a pitch and also hit a deep sacrifice fly to knock in the first run of the game. It was nearly a grand slam. So the count is 0-1 to Abreu with Kendrick at first and 1 out here in the 5th inning. The Kansas City bullpen is busy with Kanekoa Teixeira, right-hander, starting to throw. And back to the bag at first is Kendrick. Well, we showed the starters for the National League in the All-Star game here in 2010. The starters are voted on by the fans. The players also vote. And a lot of the reserves are actually a product of the players' vote. And the reserves, Brian McCann of the Braves. 5 Braves are on the All-Star team, by the way. Ryan Howard, Adrian Gonzalez of the Padres, Martin Prado, Omar Infante, which is a discussion in itself. Troy Tulowitzki will be replaced by Jose Reyes. Tulowitzki of the Rockies is on the disabled list. Brandon Phillips of the Reds, Scott Rowland of the Reds, the first place Reds, Michael Bourne of the Astros, Marlon Byrd of the Cubs, Corey Hart, who has been among the RBI leaders along with David Wright, Corey Hart of the Brewers, Matt Holliday of the Cardinals as well, and the curveball from LaRue, and no swing, says third base umpire Darrell Cousins. 2-1 the count to Abreu. The pitchers, Chris Carpenter, Giovanni Gallardo of the Brewers, Carpenter of the Cardinals, Roy Halladay, Tim Hudson, Ubaldo Jimenez, who's 14-1, Josh Johnson, Tim Lincecum, who's won the Cy Young Award 2 years in a row for the Giants. Adam Wainwright won his 12th game of the year today, so rightfully he is on the All-Star team as a pitcher. 8 starters and 5 relievers for the National League as well. Jonathan Broxton, Arthur Rhodes, Brian Wilson, Evan Meek, Pirates, lone selection, and Matt Capps of the Nationals are the relief pitchers. It's a double play ball. There's one, and just in time, double play. Torrey Hunter stranded on deck. On to the 6th inning. Wilson Betemit coming up against Pinheiro. 4-0 Angels.
presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by the Lincoln Summer Sales Event. Luxury and technology have never been more desirable or affordable. And Kingsford Charcoal, slow down and grill.
Sunny Southern California. Sunday night baseball from Orange County, Anaheim. The Angels leading the Royals 4-0. The Angels heading off to Chicago. They'll be taking on the White Sox next. The White Sox are in Texas tonight against the first place Rangers from the Western Division. So the Angels are rooting for the White Sox tonight as they themselves need a victory against the Royals, who are trying to sweep this series. Wilson Betemit, who has grounded out twice, facing Pinheiro. White Sox still leading Texas at the Rangers ballpark down there in Arlington. And Pinheiro in there with a strike. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Betemit. Aviles and Meyer will follow. Not quite a full house here in Anaheim, but a week from Tuesday, you can imagine that it will be absolutely jam-packed for the 2010 All-Star Game. And the night before, for that matter, the Home Run Derby next Monday, a week from tomorrow. And you'll be able to see that right here on ESPN.
I haven't seen who's going to participate in the Home Run Derby, but it's always a great show. I mean, there's such a big group of great players in the All-Star Game. You could probably pick just about any of their starting positions, and they could put on a good show for you.
Well, one of the guys who had one of the greatest shows of all, there's strike 3 called to Betemit, is in this game tonight in right field. Bobby Abreu. He put on a real good show the year he won it. All-Star festivities beginning next Sunday right here at Angel Stadium with the XM All-Star Futures game. That'll be on ESPN2 next Sunday at 6 Eastern. Then on Monday, the State Farm Home Run Derby on ESPN at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. The Taco Bell All-Star Legends and Celebrity Softball game at 10 Eastern on ESPN that same night. Curveball for a strike to Aviles, who's hit 2 singles. Aviles has singled and also hit an infield single his last time. There is Kendrick. So 2 men are gone. Here in the 6th, and Mitch Meyer coming up. The MLB All-Star Red Carpet Show will be on the MLB Network on Tuesday, starting at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. And then the 81st All-Star Game from right here in Anaheim on Fox, Tuesday at 8 Eastern. Joel Pinheiro facing Meyer, who has doubled to right and grounded into a double play. So he is 1 for 2. So the All-Stars have been selected except for 2 spots. And there could be some other changes. Somebody gets hurt, or Jason Hayward may really say he cannot play. But that is a very strong inning for Pinheiro, one of his best innings of the night. An 11-pitch inning. Torrey Hunter, who hit a 3-run homer his last time, is coming up. Then Matsui. By Taco Bell from the site of this year's All-Star Game, Angel Stadium in Anaheim. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan and Oral Hershiser. And the Angels needing a win. And they are leading 4-0. And one of the big reasons for their lead is Torrey Hunter's 3-run homer down the left field line in the third inning. And here is Torrey against Anthony LaRue again to lead off in the sixth. Torrey named to his fourth All-Star team today. And a strike from LaRue. What is that pitch? He throws it so slowly.
It's like a little curveball or an off-speed slider.
69 miles an hour, that last one. So Tim Wakefield was on the mound there for a moment. 1 ball and 1 strike to count to Torrey Hunter. And it is 2-1. Hideki Matsui on deck, and then Mike Napoli. Three and 1 now to Torrey Hunter. There's Matsui on deck, and a called strike. The shadows now have encompassed almost the entire field and most of the hitter's backdrop.
And because he's right-handed, he's thrown out of the shadows of the backdrop, so I don't think it should be a big problem for the players.
Well, this time Torrey Hunter draws a walk. And Matsui is coming up. There's Ned Yost, the Royals manager, whose team has been playing so much better.
And John, remember, he got fired September 15, 2008. And his team was tied for the wild card lead at that time. And no one still understands why completely that, they decided, at that moment to fire him. But, I thought he had done a great job there. And like I said, when I talked to him today, he is much more relaxed. I think he's going to do a good job with these young players.
He's been a big league coach, a big league manager, a big league player. Got instant respect when he walked into that locker room.
That's a base hit through that open hole on the right side. Torrey Hunter digging for third. Guillen will throw in towards second. Second hit in a row for Matsui.
And that just shows, a professional hitter right there. He has the hole on the right side. He reaches out. He's going to pull this ball. I don't care where it is. And he pulls it past the first baseman. And he gets Torrey Hunter around the third. A good left-handed hitter will always take that ball's away, but he still pulls it because he wants to hit the hole on the right side. He knows there's a big hole over there. Does a great job of getting it in the hole, and that's why you have a left-handed hitter behind at the top of your lineup a lot of times, because you can go first to third like that, and without anybody being out, it gives you the opportunity to score without a base hit.
Well, there is bullpen activity. Number 53, Kanekoa Teixeira up again as Ned Yost, the manager, out to the mound with runners at first and third, and nobody out here in the sixth inning. Mike Napoli, a powerful right-handed hitter, coming up. And there is the call to the bullpen. So LaRue is finished for the night, trailing 4-0 with 2 men on and nobody out in the sixth inning. New pitcher coming in. We'll be right back. time. MLB.tv, baseball everywhere. Get over 100 live, out-of-market games per week in HD quality where available on your computer. Visit MLB.tv for details. New pitcher for the Royals, Kanekoi Teixeira, Hawaiian-born right-hander, and he comes in a tight spot.
He was claimed off waivers on June 3rd from the Seattle Mariners. And this bullpen has started to function a little better, a lot better really, under Ned Yost compared to Trey Hillman. And they have played 2 games over 500 since Yost has taken over. And one of the main factors has been their bullpen has had specific roles.
When I talked to him today, though, I talked about, did you assign specific roles to the guys? He said no. He said, I let them pitch and let them define their roles. I let them define who was my 7th inning guy, my 8th inning. He knew who their 9th inning guy was, Soria. But I thought that was interesting. He said, I let them define who they are by the way that they pitch. And I think that's great.
There's Joaquin Soria, who was on the left of that first shot we had there.
And he did tell me that Soria was available tonight, even though he closed the last 2 days. But unless they score some runs, it's not going to matter.
I said, well, Soria now threw 28 pitches last night, also pitched on Friday, and he said, well, he says he's fine, and I'm of a mind that when you have a chance to roll off some wins, that's when you need your closer most of all. So, as long as he's not telling me that he's hurting or whatever, then we'll hope to be able to use him.
And his feeling is that when you're on the road, he said it's either feast or famine. Either you're going to have a lot of opportunities for your closer or you're not going to have very many. And that was the way he felt like, all right, if I have these opportunities to use him, I'm going to go ahead and use him.
But whether he'll even have to even think about that could be largely determined here in the next few moments. The Angels with runners at first and third. That ball driven to right. Guillen's got a strong arm. Man. Here comes the throw. It's a little bit too strong. Touchdown! Either a touchdown or just intentional grounding. I'm not sure which. A very impressive throw, though. Just a little bit too strong. And it is 5-0 Angels. Also moving up, Matsui to second, and that's the error against Guillen. Sac fly and a run batted in for Napoli. It was going to have to be an incredible throw to throw out Torrey Hunter, who still moves pretty well.
Well, I think he was too deep to have a shot at Torrey.
But he had a chance to show off that arm, and it still looks pretty good. Here is McAnulty, lacking a little bit in accuracy. And back to the screen. It's 0-1 to McAnulty, who has struck out twice. The thing that hurts there, and we're kidding around a little bit, but the thing that really hurts, you got to keep that runner at first base. The double play is in order, and Matsui's a guy who could hit a double play ball with all of those surgeries, or rather, McAnulty's a guy who could hit a double play if Matsui were still at first. That ball is hit very well. It's gone. That is a long home run over the extra high wall in deep right center.
Well, that's why they call him Truck. I mean, he can drive it, and he's a good hitter. Mike Scioscia told me the guy doesn't look like a great hitter, but he can hit. And that's why they brought him up, to supply a little bit more power to this ball club.
Struck out twice, and then a big fly. That wall out there is double height. That was no cheapie, and that's a base hit for Jeff Mathis.
All or nothing here tonight. Good low ball swing right here. He drops the back knee, all of Adrian Beltre in Boston. Watch the back leg kind of drop, get him down there to keep everything down and in. And when you stay down through that and turn, you hit it with some power. And he stayed behind that ball well and hit it over that double-decker wall. And that is a long way.
Bellamy with a long throw from third to get Wood as Mathis moves over to second.
I was just amazed at how easily he threw that ball on a spring across the diamond there. He didn't even have to take an extra step. He just released it very quickly across the diamond.
That was a strong
Great
arm.
Yeah.
He's got a lot left in there.
At one time, when he was in the Atlanta farm system, he was being talked about as an outstanding young shortstop developing. Here's the leadoff man, Eric Ibar, who has flied out, singled, and been thrown out in a bunt attempt. He is 1 for 3. Ball blocked in the dirt there by Jason Kendall. 7-0 Angels. They hit a couple of home runs in this game. And McAnulty, I guess we see why they brought him up, looking for that little extra offense. McAnulty, and that's a very impressive home run over that wall, because it was way out there, more center field than right field, and over the double height wall. That's a lot of home runs can die on that big wall out there. Right over the list of all the Angels division championships. So this one has started to get away from the Royals now. LaRue charged with 6 of the runs, the starting pitcher. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And 7-0 Angels. And this is, the Royals just don't have that kind of power. They have the one guy who's hitting a lot of home runs, and that is Jose Guillen. And Ned Yost says, well, there are some other guys who could be hitting home runs. Billy Butler's got a lot of power. But they really just don't have a whole lot of team power. A lot of base hits. And a lot of base hits for them tonight. They've had 6 hits. They had 6 hits in the first 4 innings. Plus a couple of walks. They put 8 men on base in the first 4 innings, but they never scored against that man, Joel Pinheiro. In fact, they've had 6 hits and 4 walks. They put 10 men on base and have not scored. Two and 2 to Ibar. The Angels have scored 5 runs on 2 swings of the bat. Teixeira. So 3 runs for the Angels, and we head into the late innings, and the Angels are leading 7-0. ESPN Tuesday and Wednesday with both semifinal games. First Tuesday at 1:30 Eastern Time, Uruguay meets the Netherlands. Then on Wednesday at 1:30 Eastern, Germany up against Spain. The 2010 FIFA World Cup on ESPN Tuesday and Wednesday. And the World Cup is available on TV, online, and on your phone.
Well, I think the winner is going to be between Germany and Spain. I think they're going to win the World Cup, whoever wins that game.
Yudieski Betancourt with a comebacker, and Pinheiro quickly gets the first out of his seventh inning. He's got a new cast of supporting characters behind him, with Reggie Willits taking over in left field, and Corey Aldrich in right field. So Matsui, who had been in left, and Abreu, who had been in right, both out of the game now. Corey Aldrich just brought up from AAA Salt Lake today, and this is his first appearance in the major leagues in 9 years. He was with Atlanta back in October of 2001. He was hitting .309 in AAA this year. Originally drafted by the Braves back in 1997. He appeared in 8 games for the Braves, all back in 2001. Meanwhile, has been in not quite 1,400 minor league games, as Scott Pasednik is quickly dispatched. And that is the third strikeout for Pinheiro. The Angels bullpen has some activity now with Francisco Rodriguez. This is a different Francisco Rodriguez, by the way.
K-Rod.
K-Rod is still with the Mets.
Yes, he is.
And this is just Francisco Rodriguez, not K-Rod or any other cool nicknames just yet for him. Could happen.
We talked about Pinheiro not striking out a lot of hitters, less 7 or fewer in the last 110 starts. That was his third by my count.
And he's been effectively wild today. Kansas City, they've gotten their scratch hits, but he really hasn't given up any big blows. Not the command that he's used to having. So he has pitched around his ineffectiveness as far as the command part. 111 pitches, 68 strikes, 43 balls. It's a little low for his ratio.
But no runs, and he had won each of his last 5 starts coming into this game. So he's been on a roll. But he seems to have been better when the pitches have been most important tonight. They had a lot of chances to do some damage against him, especially in the first 3 innings. But he has had 3 complete games, tied for second most in the league. He's gone more than 6 innings in 14 and out. He's doing it again here tonight, as Pinheiro in his 17th start for the 15th time, going 6 innings or more.
And during this hot streak, he's been that tough, John. When you get him in runners in scoring position, they've hit in the low 100s off him.
Curveball is popped up in foul ground. Mathis almost got away from it. Little gust of wind apparently grabbed that one. That's 7 in a row retired by Pinheiro. He's pitched 7 strong. Torrey Hunter due up third when we come back. of July. 7-0, the Angels are leading as we go to the last of the 7th. And coming up, the All-Star festivities right here in this ballpark at Angel Stadium. It all gets started next Sunday. The XM All-Star Futures game on ESPN2 at 6 Eastern Time. Then on Monday, a week from tomorrow, on ESPN, the State Farm Home Run Derby, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. The Taco Bell All-Star Legends and Celebrity Softball game. After that, about 10 p.m. Eastern Time, a week from Monday. On Tuesday, the MLB Network will have the MLB All-Star Red Carpet Show, and the Fox Network on Tuesday at 8 o'clock will have the 81st All-Star Game right here from Angel Stadium in Anaheim. You're going to be at the Home Run Derby?
Oh, yeah. Looking forward to it. Again, it's fun, watching these guys hammer these balls out of this ballpark.
Well, there is Victor Marte, a big right-hander from the Dominican Republic. He becomes the 3rd Royals pitcher used tonight. And he'll be facing Howie Kendrick, then Reggie Willits, and Torrey Hunter. And Corey Aldrich will be due up 4th in the inning in his first Major League game tonight in 9 years. And although he got into 8 games with Atlanta years and years ago, never had a hit in the big league. Still looking for his first one. He'd be due up 4th in the inning. Corey Aldrich. Meanwhile, the first place Rangers are still trailing the Chicago White Sox down in Arlington, Texas. That is 5-3 White Sox, and they have finished 8th. Fastball a strike to Kendrick, who has grounded out, walked, and singled. And a nice slider in there for a called strike, and it's 0-2.
He calls that a curveball, but I can see why you call it a slider for sure. That's a short, tight break. I can see him being able to change speeds on that and giving that a big break and having 2 pitches out of 1.
This is Betancourt, and 1 away.
John, we were talking about the National League MVP, and we started with David Wright being the front runner because he's led the Mets back into contention. Great numbers there. We also talked Troy Glaus, and Albert Pujols. You can't have an MVP voting without Albert Pujols. Scott Rowland, Joey Votto, who is not on the All-Star team, but is in line, a candidate for the MVP. I think all of these guys have done a fabulous job for their teams, and in the case of Glaus and Votto and Rowland, they've led their teams to first place. And of course the Cardinals are in second to the Reds in the Central.
Scott Rowland has been a real leader in that Reds ball club. And I remember when Walt Jocketty acquired him last year from the Blue Jays, a lot of people were questioning that acquisition, saying, wait a minute, that's not where the Reds should be going. They're taking on more salary with an older guy who's had some injury problems, and yet Jocketty had a vision in place about what those Reds needed to become better with all the young talent. And I think Rowland has been everything that he would have hoped. Far more than he could have hoped. And he also brought in Orlando Cabrera as another veteran. Those guys are winning players. They know what it takes to win. So you're right. They've really helped, stabilize that ball club. And let's take a look at the division leaders. There you see the Braves. They're up by 2, and Troy Glaus has been leading them. The Reds lead the Cardinals by 1.5, and the Reds are just scoring runs, and just tons of runs. They scored 13 today in Chicago, so they're doing a fabulous job of scoring runs.
Young Mike Leake got a W today.
And Mike Leake, he's 6-1 as a rookie. Never pitched in the minor leagues, and then you look down at the bottom, you got the Padres. We didn't have an MVP candidate there, but we know that Adrian Gonzalez could be a guy that could win the National League Most Valuable Player if the Padres are able to continue. It's really amazing with the Padres because they have done extremely well. 49-33. They have the best record in the National League. And it's Adrian Gonzalez. And there are a lot of guys doing some of this and some of that, but there's nobody else that jumps out and you say, wow, that guy's having a good year. Except in the pitching staff and in the bullpen, especially. Well, Latos has gone 8-1 in his last 9 decisions. with a 1.60 earned run average during that time. And he didn't make the All-Star team, but I mean, he has been fabulous also.
All three of those teams at the beginning of the season, you would say they're in a surprise place right now, too.
Yeah.
And you'd think that most of them would have been sellers, not buyers, coming into the trade deadline, but they're looking to acquire players.
So with the runner at first, Reggie Willits. After the walk, here is Torrey Hunter. Named to the All-Star team. He'll be the only Angel on the All-Star, at least right now. Could be an injury replacement. Somebody might be needed. And Torrey into deep left center field. Way back there, and goodbye! His second home run. Torrey has decided to celebrate his All-Star selection in high style.
You know, he hit it, John. I just watch him. He tells me whether he got it or not. And you know what? Maybe he should be in the home run derby here in Anaheim. He'd be a favorite for the fans anyway. And he looks like he's got his home run stroke going.
You're doing the color on the home run derby, right?
Right.
So you officially invited him?
Well, I think I will after the game, but I don't know if I get I don't know if I have that authority.
It's the first time this year that Torrey Hunter has hit 2 home runs in a game.
That's the first time I've heard you deny your pull.
Oh, no.
He's got pull, right, John?
Or you better ask.
Yeah, you ask him. Yeah, you ask him.
This is Corey Aldrich. The man just brought up from the minor leagues today. He was hitting .309 in the Pacific Coast League. 31 years old. His first major league appearance since 2001 when he was with Atlanta. He is still looking for his first major league hit. Not this time. That is Aviles and Corey Aldrich. He waited 9 years to have that opportunity. Now, he may have despaired of ever getting another chance after all that time.
Well, I tell you what, that's a lot of pressure. You wait 9 years to try to get that one base hit that eluded you 9 years ago. That's pretty tough.
So he's had a Crash Davis-like career. They said he had a great spring training for the Angels down in the Cactus League. Here's Mike Napoli. It's a day where the Angels brought up 2 left-handed hitters from the minors. As Mike Scioscia said, we're looking for some hitting. We just need some offense. Left-handed, right-handed, or he says, I don't care if they stand there in the middle of the plate with a bat over their head and hit that way. Just somebody who can hit. And the other man they brought up, McAnulty, hit a 2-run homer in the 6th inning that really opened up the game big time.
Well, did you notice they didn't bring up any small guys? They brought up some big guys to let it go, and both of those guys, Aldrich and Kruk, or big guys.
Yeah.
No, Kruk.
That's his nickname?
Yeah, Kruk. We got to call him Kruk. That's what the players call him.
1-2 the count to Napoli. If I were him, I'd rather be called Eduardo. For Eduardo Perez or one of the other guys. Why Kruk?
Well, I didn't name it.
I don't think he's thrilled about it.
I went down and it came right from Mike Scioscia.
That's a base hit to right field for Napoli. He hit a sacrifice fly back in the 6th inning and is now 1 for 3. And here comes McAnulty.
Better known as Kruk.
He went, this is a true big fly.
That is, and it was mentioned, the low pitch, as Oral has said, left-handed hitter, low pitch, that little uppercut, and a true big fly.
McAnulty out of Cal State Long Beach. And he was hitting well in the minor leagues when they brought him up. McAnulty had some time in the major leagues with the San Diego Padres. 12th round draft choice of the Padres. Owns his own batting cage company in Oxnard.
And I see a lot of similarities with John Kruk, though. The way he was adjusting his helmet, the way he's doing his batting gloves right there. John had a narrower stance and held the bat higher and a bigger stride. But there is such a thing in baseball called a bad body player. And Johnny Kruk had a little bit of that reputation. Now, I don't know about
I'm
McNulty.
not going there.
Well, you know, we can be honest up here. John Kruk wasn't known always in the face and the wink to the umpire. He's got it all going on. And Krucky was always involved in the game. Complete emotions, wore his emotions on his sleeve. He definitely didn't roll his sleeves up. You saw it all, what he felt.
Well, the title of his autobiography was, "Hey, lady, I'm not a..." what was it? I'm not an athlete. I'm a ball player.
So you're saying he justified the possible bad body comment?
I don't know. I just remember when we first started Sunday Night Baseball, he played in a game for the Phillies against a Don Zimmer managed Cubs team, and we realized, wow, Zimmer and Kruk, they father and son. They could have.
John, I'm not going there.
Oh, you're not talking to John.
I'm not going. I'm talking to
John.
I'm not going there.
You think he's in?
I just remember you as a guy that could hit 300, hit line drives all over the ballpark. That's all I remember, John.
And always a high on base percentage.
Yeah, I remember those things.
I remember him owning me.
And McNulty strikes out. He gets the hat trick for strikeouts tonight, but he also has launched a spectacular home run. But 2 home runs tonight for Torrey Hunter, including his second one of the night here in the 7th inning, out into left center field. Torrey Hunter, American League All-Star.
Inside the Bun, and in part by Bud Light Lime, the drinkability of Bud Light with a refreshing taste of lime.
Sunday Night Baseball from Anaheim, the site of the All-Star Game. The 81st All-Star Game coming up here from Anaheim a week from Tuesday. And for the Angels, Joel Pinheiro, whom they asked to be the stopper, and he did a good job of pitching a strong one, 7 shutout innings, and here is Francisco Rodriguez, the same name as the former Angels closer, who also became known as Frankie Rodriguez, and also perhaps more familiarly as K-Rod. This Francisco Rodriguez is from Mexico, and David DeJesus takes the ball in the dirt. 13th time in Torrey Hunter's career that he has hit 2 home runs in a game, but he had his first multiple home run game of this season on this day when he was officially named to the All-Star team. His 4th All-Star selection.
I think he's also auditioning for the home run derby. I think he knows what's going on.
Well, I think I want him in that derby, and I'm picking him as the favorite.
All right.
From what I've seen. It's too bad the derby wasn't tomorrow. 1 ball, 1 strike to count to De Jesus, who has had a single and twice has grounded into force plays.
John, we're talking about the Padres and the Reds, how well they've done. I think we should send out a tip of the hat to Bud Black, the manager, and Dusty Baker for the jobs well done to get their teams to these positions.
That's a base hit to right field, and De Jesus has his second hit. And the cleanup man, Billy Butler, coming up. Meanwhile, let's go to the studio to Steve Berthew in a Sports Center right now. Thanks, Steve. And here is Bill Butler, deep into right field, but playable. And there is Corey Aldrich, right on the edge of the track. And Butler is now 1 for 3. Bill Butler, or Billy Butler, came into this game hitting .320. He's only 24 years old. And they always thought he was going to be a good one. And tonight, back in the 3rd inning, he got his 500th career hit, which 500 hits. A lot of guys have had a lot more hits than that, but he is the youngest active player with that many hits.
Well, you got to get the first 500 before you can get the next 500 or 1,000. I mean, all those are great milestones. When you can play in the major leagues and just put up any numbers, I think you have to be pleased with your accomplishment.
So Billy Butler, they think he's going to be a real good one. And he's off to an excellent start in his career. Here's Brian Pena, another former Atlanta Brave farmhand. And the general manager of the Royals is out of the Atlanta system, Dayton Moore. And Ned Yost was bragging before the game about all the great young talent they have in their minor league system. They have a team in somewhere in Arkansas. I can't remember if it's northwestern Arkansas or northeastern, but they're in the AA Texas League. And at the Texas League All-Star game, 12 members of the Texas League All-Star team were all from the Royals AA team in Arkansas. That's a lot of guys from one team. It's like half the team practically, all from the Royals AA team. Dayton Moore spent the second most money on the draft in the last 3 years. And would have been the most, except the Nationals spent a huge amount just on Steven Strasburg. 12 AA All-Stars in that Texas League All-Star game. That ball is a curve in the dirt from Rodriguez to strike out Pena.
And John, remember Alex Gordon, the guy that they were thinking of going to be that build a franchise around? Well, he's in the minor leagues now, and he's playing left field instead of third base. And he said he's having a great minor league season, and the problem is they don't have any place to play him if they bring him up right now. So if there are some trades made at the deadline, then we may see Alex Gordon back here for the Royals. I think he hit his 13th home run, he said yesterday.
Here is Wilson Betemit, who is 0 for 3. I talked to Betemit before the game. He said, "Tell me how to pronounce your name again." And I said, "Betemit." And he says, "They all call me Betemit," but he says it's Betemit.
After that throw we saw him make over at third base, he called him Rocket.
Right. The Angels now know they will gain ground on first place Texas if they can win this game, and they are leading 9-0. The White Sox have beaten the Rangers, and Betemit is gone, and so are the Royals, and we go to the last of the 8th inning. The Angels are leading here rather handily. cancer. Visit standuptocancer.org to learn how you can help in the fight against cancer. On the 4th of July, we are at Angel Stadium, site of this year's All-Star Game coming up a week from Tuesday. And the hometown team, the Angels, with an All-Star kind of performance tonight, especially from Torrey Hunter, who was named to the All-Star team, as Dusty Hughes comes in from the Kansas City dugout, or from their bullpen. And he is the 4th Royals pitcher of the game. Dusty Hughes, a 28-year-old lefty. And Jeff Mathis fouls one away. Mathis has had 2 singles in this game, 2 for 3. Other changes for the Royals. Brian Pena, who pinch hit for Jose Guillen, stays in to catch, replacing Jason Kendall. And Willie Bloomquist has gone in to play right field. He'll hit in Kendall's number 2 spot in the order. Dusty Hughes is the only lefty in the Kansas City bullpen. There's Bloomquist now in right. Bloomquist had a big role, a huge role in their win here on Friday. Butler to Hughes, and there is one away. Mathis is out. Bloomquist stole second base, got himself in a scoring position in the 9th inning, down by a run. And with 2 down to Vilas, singled him home. Bloomquist stayed in the game, and then he knocked in what proved to be the winning run in the 10th inning with a big base hit.
He's one of the veteran utility players on this club that they think other clubs will be looking at to maybe strengthen their bench when the trade deadline approaches.
It's easier to tell you the positions that he can't play.
Yeah.
There's only maybe a couple of positions. Doesn't catch very much, doesn't pitch. Otherwise,
whatever you want, I got it.
He can play there. I'm surprised he didn't make the All-Star team.
Not going there.
I think that was a reference to Omar Infante. Number of games played, number of games started compared to others.
I'm thrilled
just leave it alone.
I'm thrilled for Omar Infante.
I know you are. I could tell.
He's maybe the best utility player in the game, at least this year. Can play all over the field, hitting well over 300. But he's a utility player who's played maybe half the time or less than half the time for the Atlanta Braves, but named to the All-Star team. So now we have All-Star utility players.
Not going to go there.
You guys don't have to comment.
Actually, I think I was told that Charlie Manuel felt like he wanted someone on the team that was used to coming off the bench, in those situations, whereas your regular players are not accustomed to coming off the bench, in late innings. And that was one of the reasons that he made the choice, because he could play a lot of positions, etc. So
I was watching the announcement show in the room, getting ready for this game, and you're right. Charlie was being interviewed, and he talked about small ball and having somebody come off the bench, and maybe even somebody that could play multiple positions and play for a long time. If you have to designate that re-entry player, that it might be somebody like Omar.
And the thing I got out of Charlie's interview was that he learned this from last year. When he was in the game, when he managed the All-Star team last year, he felt like maybe he needed this one type of guy.
And John's not buying any of this.
Well, I'm not saying I don't understand it, the rationale, but I always thought that we were saying that the All-Star game is for All-Stars.
For the best players.
But we had an exception that every team had to have one guy. So that was sort of a loophole. But this is a whole different thing, sort of unprecedented in All-Star selection history, I'm thinking.
Well, you know what, John? You may be right, because when they played the All-Star game here years ago, let's go back to that, when they played here, they picked mainly starting pitchers. They didn't pick relief pitchers or closers.
Because you only were a relief pitcher if you weren't good enough to be a starting pitcher in those days.
But they didn't pick them. So they've actually changed that philosophy a little bit as well by picking, relief pitchers.
Well, and it used to be
setup men.
It used to be
only closers.
You would only have a closer, Goose Gossage or Bruce Sutter. Raleigh Fingers might make an All-Star team.
Right.
Not a guy who came in before then. Look at that play from shortstop by Betancourt, but not in time to get the fleet-footed Ibar.
And that's another infield hit for Ibar.
Is that number 28?
28. And counting. You know, Ichiro had 59 last year, so that's a lot of infield hits.
But he was fast enough to defeat a great play by Betancourt.
Well, nice play. I mean, he barehands it. And what I like about that, he didn't catch it in the palm of his hand and then have to roll it down, you know, to his finger, his two fingers, his throwing fingers. He just caught it there and got rid of it, but just too fast.
Howie Kendrick, who has a single and a walk in this game. Anyway, now we've had setup men, and now we have a utility man who's made an all-star team. And congratulations to Omar Infante.
Oh, for sure.
I meant to look at the roster, you know, the last time they played here, because I remember Tom Seaver, who was obviously a starting pitcher. He got the last out. He got the last out from, you know, to win, you know, to shut down the American League and for the National League to win after Tony Perez had put their National
That was right
League
here,
ahead.
right in this ballpark.
That's what I mean, back
what
here.
Was that, 67?
It was
a 15-inning game. Perez hit a home run that was the winning run.
And that wasn't the last time it was played here.
No.
Bo Jackson's home run off of Rick Russell.
Base hit for Kendrick.
In '89 was a big blast.
That was a big fly.
Yeah, that was up on the tarp.
Bo Jackson. Listen, he was leading off the game for the American League.
Yeah. That's bottom of the first. I was on the National League bench, and I couldn't believe it because I hadn't seen him play yet. And then his next at bat, he grounded out, and it was the loudest I've ever heard anybody run to first. You know, it was like an ice skater, the way they crunched the ice, the way he went through the dirt. It was absolutely amazing.
Bo Jackson of the Kansas City Royals.
Of the guy who could run on walls.
Here is Reggie Willits. Now, if Reggie Willits gets aboard, there are two out here in the 8th. Torrey Hunter would be next.
Well, Drew Stubbs of the Reds hit 3 home runs today in Wrigley Field. Torrey a chance.
3 of the 7 homers hit by the Reds overall in that game. 9 home runs hit in that game. The rookie Tyler Colvin hit a couple for the Cubs.
Well, Bo Jackson is scheduled to appear in that celebrity softball game around the All-Star game. Great to see him.
One of the greatest athletes of his time, who played baseball and football, and it was a football injury that was the beginning of the end for Bo Jackson.
On a tackle going down the sidelines that looked like what got hyperextended or something?
Yeah, for my Oakland Raiders.
Yeah. He was awe-inspiring even to professional athletes. You know, people wanted to watch him take batting practice. People wanted to watch him run. People wanted to watch him play football.
Off the foot of Dusty Hughes. Benamit cannot pick it up. And Torrey Hunter will get another shot at it here, having already hit 2 home runs. With the score 1-0 in the 3rd, Torrey Hunter launched one down the left field line against Anthony LaRue. What a shot that was. Way out of here. That made it 4-0. And he hit another one in the 7th inning. And he knew right away. Back up onto the grassy knoll area out there.
What did
2
I say?
homers and 5 batted in.
What did I say at the beginning of the telecast? The image of an all-star fits him perfectly. The image that I have in my mind, you know, because he's a team player, he's a great teammate, he's a leader, and he's a great all-around player.
And he is also the Chevrolet player of the game. Torrey Hunter. And he's been one of the best in center field, just with the glove. Don't even have to talk about the hitting. He comes up this time with the bases loaded. He's had a 3-run homer and a 2-run homer. Now a chance to drive in 4 with one swing of his bat. With the bases loaded in his career, how I'm not sure, but this year he has been perfect. They have not gotten him out yet. 5 for 5 with 12 RBIs.
It's funny he's following Willits, who hadn't hit a home run in 731 at bats before that. He's gone 731 at bats without a home run. Well, 32 now.
And there's nobody leaving the ballpark because we got a game that's a little out of balance. The Torrey's up, and we've got a fireworks show after this game, so they want to see the prelim to that with another home run, grand slam right here, and some prelim fireworks.
Well, the question is, do you give in here and give him a dead red fastball?
No. Change up. Torrey, by the way, has hit 10 grand slams in his career. There's a left-handed hitter with hardly any major league experience, Corey Aldrich, on deck.
Well, normally in this situation, you would not swing. And, yeah, you don't normally swing 9-0 on a 3-0 pitch.
The only thing that you'd think maybe this is the way to pay back for the hit batters instead of, go ahead and swing 3-0.
Well, if you swing 3-0, 9-0, you may get some more hit back.
Yeah, next time they face each other, they might do it again.
Base hit to right field. Ibar scores. Kendrick coming around. He scores. Willits to third. And Torrey Hunter has 7 RBIs tonight. 11-0 Angels.
Kendry Morales went down. Torrey Hunter and Bobby Abreu said, we're going to have to pick it up. We're going to have to get the kids to concentrate. And he has been the team leader, RBI-wise and emotionally.
And Torrey leaves the game for a pinch runner to a standing ovation. Kevin Franzen goes in to run for him. He equals his career record for RBIs in a game. 7 batted in. Torrey Hunter had a 7 RBI game against the Detroit Tigers 3 years ago, the last time that he had this many in one game. That is Franzen over at first with Willits at third. Corey Aldrich still looking for that first career hit. He grounded out to second in his first at bat tonight. Just called up from the minor leagues today, playing in his first major league game in nearly 9 years. Back to the screen. 1 ball and 2 strikes to 31-year-old Corey Aldrich, 31-year-old rookie. Torrey Hunter. It's good to be Torrey Hunter.
And he is so locked in. Get a home run right down the line, home run to left center, and then the base hit to right. So no matter where they're throwing him and where it should be hit, he is hitting it hard to all fields.
No, not quite. Betancourt grabs it. Aldrich still looking for that first major league hit. On to the 9th inning. Hunter and the Angels out in front, 11-0. And it's been a happy night for the hometown nine. They lead the Kansas City Royals 11-0, needing a victory to avoid being swept. And Torrey Hunter, what a night for him. 2 homers and a career best equaling 7 runs batted in. New pitcher in for the Angels, Fernando Rodney, the 3rd Angels pitcher of the night, facing Mike Aviles, who's had 2 hits. Other changes as Rodney takes over, former closer for the Detroit Tigers. Rodney in his 36th game of this year, 4-0 with 6 saves for the Angels. Ordinarily, he's one of the setup men in front of Brian Fuentes, the current closer for the Angels. One ball, 1 strike to count to Mike Aviles. Torrey Hunter with the big night here on the day he was selected to the All-Star team that will be played right in this ballpark. And here's Brandon Wood throwing out Aviles. So there's 1 away. Torrey Hunter told us this weekend that his brother Brandon Thurman is stationed overseas in Afghanistan, serving his country as a member of the armed forces. And Independence Day, very special for Torrey. Here's what he told us.
For Independence Day, man, it's very special for me because, you know, in 2005 I found out I had another brother, and he graduated from West Point. He's in the Army, and now he's in Afghanistan serving. And I'm always talking to him, you know, via email, and he's always emailing me back, and he sounds so happy. You know, he's happy to serve his country. He's having a lot of fun out there, and I'm like, wow, that's dangerous. That's the danger zone, and he's actually happy to serve his country, and he's not in a rush to come back at all. So for me, I just want to say to all the troops, man, thank you for everything you do. To my brother out there, Brandon, we love you, man. We miss you. Come home safe.
And that's what it's all about.
Heartfelt words from Torrey Hunter, his brother in the armed forces and perhaps in harm's way. So our best wishes and our thoughts, and eloquently expressed, I think, for all of us there by Torrey Hunter. Now the new left fielder, Kevin Franzen, who ran for Torrey, and his left fielding needs a little work. Franzen, who's been playing third base for the Angels primarily. Wow.
Well, what a good time. We were talking about his Giant experience when he played for the Giants, and he wanted me to say hello to Mike Murphy, who's the clubhouse guy for the Giants, and he'd been there for a long, long time. Mike was there when I was there. So, Kevin, I didn't mean you to put us in that frame of mind, but he does get front and center here.
I like how just at the last there he was looking at the glove like, what, is there something wrong with this? Is this defective?
What was when we were kids? They say you have a hole in the glove.
Mm-hmm. So now Rodney to Unieski Betancourt with 1 out and a runner at second base.
You make a play like that, they'll say, don't lose your bat.
Well, his bat has been pretty good, fortunately for him.
Exactly.
He's hitting .337 and 101 at bats for the Angels, who've had a lot of injury problems, especially at third base. Here is Ibar. Betancourt is out number 2. Well, we did not get a chance, as we have our Corona Extra fan experience, did not have a chance to see the famous Angel Stadium Rally Monkey tonight. Although there were Rally Monkey imposters to be seen all around the yard, the Rally Monkey had the night off because it's a holiday weekend. Wasn't needed anyway.
It's usually used from the 7th inning on when they're down or tied, and yeah, it wasn't needed today.
Worked out really well for him back in 2002 when they won the World Series. Scott Passeggi, the leadoff man, has walked, grounded out twice, struck out, batting with 2 down in the 9th inning. A runner at second. There's that changeup. Rodney's always had a great changeup. A ball and a strike. The Angels go off to Chicago, and it appears as though they will be 3.5 back of the Rangers, who lost to Chicago in Texas tonight. And it's very high. 2-1 the count. And they'll be on the road as this ballpark will be readied for the All-Star game, the Futures game next Sunday, the Home Run Derby a week from Monday. Both will be seen right here on ESPN, and then the All-Star game itself on Tuesday, a week from Tuesday. 3-1 the count now to Posednik. Willie Bloomquist on deck.
John, I want to wish Joel Zumaya a speedy recovery. He went on the disabled list again. I mean, he's had a lot of problems the last few years, and he's battled back where he was throwing well again, and he incurred an injury earlier last week, actually.
That's a base hit to right field. To third and being held is Meyer. Throw comes through from Corey Aldrich. So Posednik gets his first hit. First and third now at 2 down. And Bloomquist coming up. And Zumaya was one of the great
power
exciting talents to come along with the Tigers back in 06 when they went to the World Series. But he's had a string of injuries ever since, and this one was just terrible. Throwing a pitch, and he said it felt like his elbow just exploded. And he thought his career had just ended, but they say it's not as bad as originally feared. I think he will be able to pitch again.
Well, we wish him a speedy recovery, and hopefully he can resume his major league career.
Nothing scarier for a pitcher to feel that acute injury that just one pitch, pop.
And you have undergone that experience. The bat just snapped in two as Ibar throws out Bloomquist. And the error notwithstanding, the shutout has been pitched by Joel Pinheiro and the Angels bullpen as they win this one, avoid being swept, and move to within 3.5 of the Texas Rangers in the American League Western Division. Pinheiro with his 9th win of the year, his 6th in a row. So we'll be back at Anaheim Stadium, or now as they call it, Angel Stadium, next for the Futures game, Home Run Derby, and the All-Star game. And we'll see you next Sunday at 8 Eastern from LA. Up next is Sports Center. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Joe Morgan, Oral